Welcome to Politics, the show where we strip away the talking points, bypass the spin, and dive straight into the tough conversations about politics that everyone else is trying to avoid. Politics isn't a game, but it's often played like one. On this show, we expose the strategies, question the motives, and break down how the decisions made in back rooms actually impact your daily life. We aren't here to echo party lines or give anyone a free pass. We're here to ask the uncomfortable questions, challenge the conventional wisdom, and have raw, honest debates with the people shaping our world. If you are tired of the usual political theater and ready for some unfiltered truth, you are in the right place. Let's get into it.
There you go. My name is Kendall Stevenson, and I am the host of Politics. I'm here with my brother Ronald Yates, and I got a good host. He decided to come and hang out with us, Mr. Michael DeRozier. But as always, we like to start off the show by saying something that we want to be grateful for. And I always tell you, there's always something to be grateful for in your life. So think about that. I'm going to tell you today was a very beautiful day. Yeah, it was a very, very beautiful day. Very nice outside. One of the best days that we've had of this summer, I must say. But anyway, let me bring in my brother, Mr. Ronald Yates. Boom. Hello, sir. How are you? Hotep.
Hotep, brother. I'm well, thank you. And how are things with you?
Oh, pretty good, man. I was telling you about the weather today, man. It was fantastic, man. One of the better days of the summer, you know. One really very nice day. Wasn't too hot, wasn't muggy, just a very nice day. And you?
Yeah, it was a good day. Didn't do too much today. It's a relaxing day, that's all.
Oh, brother, I got a surprise for you. I brought your guest on, Mr. Michael DeRozier. Boom. Mr. Michael DeRozier, he is
What's
the head.
up?
Hey,
What's up, man?
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're great,
No
man.
complaints.
He is the head of the Black Caucus here in Monroe County in Pennsylvania. So we just want to say hello and make sure you get your applause. Where's my applause at? Oh, here it is. Make sure you get that
Clap,
applause.
clap, clap, clap.
Oh, that's not no applause, but I guess that's what it's gonna be. I got you, brother.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, just to say hello. Thank you for coming on the show, and we truly appreciate it.
Yeah,
You know, we only
invite.
got you for about a half an hour. That's what I understand, right? So
Yes.
let's go ahead and get into it. Got a lot of things to talk about. I want to ask about this the national security. Right now, we got a shortage of these missiles.
Okay.
So I think that right there puts us in a lot of danger as far as this country is concerned. If we don't have enough ammunition to defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I mean, that's what Congress is debating. That's why the Secretary of Defense is trying to argue for more money, and congressional leaders are debating that issue right then and there, considering the Pentagon has not been able, or the spokesperson, which is the Secretary of Defense, has not clearly articulated what he did with the money that was given to him last year. So, and there's no clear objection with the issue going on with the war in Iran, considering our other responsibilities, meeting the U.S. responsibility in the Middle East. Then you have the Ukraine. Then we have countries that we're dealing with in Africa. I mean, worldwide. So clearly,
didn't we just get a big military, the big budget with the military?
They got the money that there was allocated in that big, beautiful bill. They got so much money that I think one senator made a comment on one of the Sunday talk shows that the money combined that they were given is a total of what other countries spend on defense. So this is an egregious amount of money that's being spent. And remember, the president, who I refer to as a temporary occupant of the White House, has allocated that the war in that we are involved with in Iran will last 4 to 5 weeks. That's what
Yeah.
he said. That's what he promised. We know that
6
he
months
is.
ago.
Yeah, we know he's not articulate, but we also know that he's a liar. So everything he says is a lie. It is now August. I think if we circle back this conversation in September, October, November, and so forth, we'll still be arguing or debating the issue, why are we still in Iran? That we were I won't say misled, but he thought, based on the intelligence that he was given, that this would be a speedy war. And we've known from past, even with Gulf War I and II, well, not one but two, the one with George W. Bush. We were misled again, not only the country but Congress again, that this would be a short-term war, and we know these things don't happen that quickly.
So Ron, I'm going to ask you a question, Ron. So do you think that because of this missile shortage and the crisis that we're having, you think this is why Trump is pulling back from Iran and trying to spin it as though during negotiations, when Iran says there are no negotiations? What's up with that, Ron?
Well, going back to your initial point, you said that there was a shortage of missiles. You talk about our defense, national defense. My question is, defense against whom? When was the last time there was an attack on this country? Now, you could say 9/11, but, it's up for debate who actually attacked this country. Some, myself included, believe that this was a false flag attack, that this was not a bunch of trained terrorists with box cutters that were able to get onto a plane, overtake the cockpit, and fly these planes, very sophisticated planes that they didn't know how to fly, into buildings, including the Pentagon. The other thing is, when you talk about the war in Iran, is Trump pulling back because of a shortage of missiles? No. Trump is pulling back because he's losing, and he's losing badly. I mean, the price of oil continues. It's topping, I guess the average now is about $4.10 a gallon, something he promised he would bring down when he ran for office, that the price of gasoline would come down, the price of food would come down. Well, all those things continue to skyrocket. Iran is still in control of the Strait of Hormuz. It's a choke point, which prevents the passage of oil, not just to this country, but distributed around the world. So Trump is losing, and he's got to try to save face. So he said today or yesterday that he's giving Iran one last time to make a deal. Now, let's think. In 2025, Trump launched a preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear infrastructure, their weapons production. That was 2025. He said he obliterated it. That was over a year ago. Now we're in a war with a country that supposedly had their nuclear stockpile obliterated. So why are we fighting a war to obliterate a stockpile of weapons that were destroyed a year ago? Then he said that
his advisors had already told him that there was no need to even go to war. They told him that there was no imminent threat coming from Iran. All of his people said that. This was him, and what's that cat?
Netanyahu, yes.
Yeah, that's between them two.
Right.
My man said, go over there and bomb him, and he said, okay, yes, sir, we'll do.
Let me ask you something real quick, Brother Yates and Stevenson. When Brother Stevenson's talking, do you hear like a choppy? I don't want to. Yeah, because what he's saying, I just don't want to make listeners or viewers not understand, because there seems to be some crackling noise.
Yeah,
and I didn't know if it was my end or someone else's end.
Really?
I think it's
you hear crackling noise. Yeah,
It's a
crackling noise.
crackling
I don't hear anything.
It's a crackling noise when you speak.
Okay, well, I guess I have to check that out, but I don't know why it would be. But
Yeah, I
okay,
just don't want to make, your content is good, so I don't want people, listeners or viewers, to like, wait, I don't understand what's going on here. That's all.
right on,
Yeah.
right on.
All right.
Well, I was listening to the show as it's being played,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that I don't hear that. So
All right.
Yeah, we're hearing
Well,
it on our end.
yeah,
Yeah.
we are. Well, this goes to show it's live. It's live, good people. It's
let me back
Oh,
live.
yeah.
up something. Is it a little better when I back up from the? Am I too close?
I'm not sure if it's proximity or if it's just some static in the line for some reason.
Yeah.
And increase your volume a bit.
Well, let's see how that works out. I can give that a shot.
Now, there's one thing I think that I'd like to bring up, and I think a lot of people don't have a clear understanding about, and that is
Is that any
this,
better? I think I got it.
No.
Is that any better?
a little bit, not much.
I do want to address something you said, Brother Yates.
Well, I want to talk about this this slush fund that
Oh, okay.
the Trump administration wants to create for the people he said were harmed by the Department of Justice, which is really not a Department of Justice anymore. He's basically dismantled that. Well, a lot of people are focusing on a 1.77, nearly $1.8 billion. Well, that is a distraction. People focus on the money. What they don't tend to focus on is the other part of that bill. And the other part of that bill that Trump is pushing for is the part that says his family can never, his family,
Oh,
nor his
yeah.
businesses, or the people he conducts business with, can ever be prosecuted for tax-related offenses. That is what he's pushing for. The $1.8 billion, I mean, he'd like to have that too. But his real incentive is to ensure that the crimes he's currently committing,
Yeah.
has committed, currently committed, and will commit in the future will never be prosecuted. And that's why he will not let Todd Blanche back away or from saying definitively that this slush fund is dead. Now, supposedly he
Well,
signed something.
Todd Blanche signed already that it was done, but that doesn't mean he can't open it up under another name.
Exactly. Or that he just won't, at a later point, go back and start this thing all over again, right? I mean, let's be realistic. How many treaties with the Native Americans were signed and agreed upon, and then they went back on? So the same thing with this issue. Trump is not willing to let go of the fact that he can be prosecuted for tax-related offenses. The other crimes he's not worried about because he's gutted the Justice Department. He's gutted the regulatory agencies. He's gutted the agency that would investigate financial crimes. So there's really no one left to investigate. The
So
IRS is his only fear right now.
this brings up a topic that I think is also what you said is right about the other aspect of it all, and it's all the particulars and the details. One of the things that what we've seen with under this current administration is that we were all led to believe that no matter what, the three branches of government, there is a separation of power and there's a checks and balances. It doesn't seem to be working, or it's being stretched to the thin. And this is where it should concern many voters, is the fact that we are pushing, we are having an administration that's egregiously not only robbing the government, but not even holding itself accountable. This is where voting kicks in. This is where we need to elect elected officials that will check this administration, because the current crop is not doing it. And if those who are saying, Well, the Democrats are also in Congress. They're the minority party, which means they have little power to do anything. They could influence by voting, but they have little power to do. That's why it's important for voters to get involved, to register, to listen to the candidates and question them, because this is going to go on. That's the reason why he's pushing for the SAVE Act, which is not
I was gonna
really
say
doing
that.
anything to save voting. It's more or less for the federal government to federalize our voting, which in the Constitution itself, each state runs it. So that's key. That's why the Black Caucus of Monroe County
Now
is
let me ask you
hosting.
about the SAVE Act, the way it works now.
Hold on, hold on, hold
Get it.
on, hold on.
We have to
Which
get
is the
another
what?
ID. I don't want you to lose that point. We can come right back to it.
Yeah.
But you have to get an ID with that. Are we supposed to pay for that ID?
So there's a couple of issues with that. That's why I want to make sure that I close with this as far as getting people involved to get on the bus, the March on Washington, which is on August 28th, which is the 62nd anniversary of the March on Washington. Again, the Monroe County is organizing that along with Al Sharpton's organization and Martin Luther King III. The SAVED Act, in regards to the voting ID. The thing is, it's not that we are paying for it per se. It is what is currently you have with a government issued ID, which would be the driver's license, which would be a passport. The problem, it's not the voter ID showing it, because I think the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative foundation that started a study in the 1980s to present day, found less than 1% of voter fraud. So the real issue is the problem that comes, it's not just the voting ID, but there's no standard. Each state has their own standard, if you want to say, a process of how to acquire an ID and what are the protocols and requirements for a state ID. And now would argue and say, well, we have that the real ID. Yes, that starts something. But what happens? Again, the argument is, what about someone who changes their name? They just got married, or they got a divorce, or they life happens where a house tragedy happens, a house burnt down, their documents are burnt down. So now, how do they get these documents? That takes time. When in last year, when the current administration again gutted many personnel, federal employees, how is someone is going to go to get an ID or a new passport when there's one or two, three personnel in that passport agency? Again, there's too much confusion. I would agree that if you want to put a voter ID in place, then you don't do it in the midterm elections. You don't even do it next year. Maybe give it time, 2 or 3 years, because any program, any policy that rolls out takes time. It takes time not only for infrastructure, and that's personnel and computer data systems, but he's rushing it to pull back. But I also want to have an issue with what Brother Yates said. Uh, I take out of respect for 9/11, yes, box cutters, there's a narrative that who did that. But I will have to come to defense that those personnel, particularly the airline personnel who were there, who were the first ones to be attacked and killed, um, I don't think they were fake. I don't think they sacrificed for nothing. It was something that all airline personnel were trained at that time to be conditioned to comply when a terrorist attack. But now that game has changed. But I do find fault with the narrative that it was not true in that aspect.
Well, a couple of things. As it relates to the midterm elections, I mean, the crux of what's happening is very simply, straightforward, voter suppression.
Correct.
The Trump administration has talked about having ICE agents stationed at various polling sites. ICE has no jurisdiction at at polling places, none whatsoever. So the reason for it being there is pure and simple intimidation to keep people away from the polls. And this is a targeted group of people that they're focusing on. We're talking about Black and brown voters. I saw something yesterday in the local news where ICE has been targeting the Haitian community here in central Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
where people who were here legally under the temporary protective status order that was signed, I believe, by the Biden administration, when they would go to their court-appointed meetings, they were being arrested. This is nothing new for ICE. They've been arresting people who are showing up, following the guidelines that have been outlined by the U.S. government. These people are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, they're required to do, and they're being arrested for it anyway. So this is the target audience for the Trump administration and ICE. And in terms of 9/11, right? Just briefly. Now, 37 Port Authority police officers were killed that day. I was a member of the Port Authority police during this time. When the list came out of those missing and believed killed in the Trade Center, I was on the list. So I get it in terms of there is a belief that we had to go and seek vengeance on these people who committed this, atrocious
Atrocity.
act against the American people. But who actually did it? That's the problem. Do we really know? We were told
I see what you're
that
saying.
it was Osama bin Laden, that he was hiding in a cave in Afghanistan. Well, next thing you know, we invaded Iraq, and we killed millions of people based on not faulty intelligence. It was a lie that Iran had a stockpile of weapons and they were preparing to use it against the United States. Saddam Hussein never posed a threat to this country. In fact, Saddam Hussein fought a proxy war against Iran for this country in the 80s. So there was never a threat from Saddam Hussein, at least militarily. His threat was economic. He wanted to establish his own gold-backed currency. That made him a threat. And then Israel, of course, said that what they're saying about the Iranian regime now is what they said about Saddam Hussein 30 years ago, that he was a threat, that he was creating instability in the Middle East. The reality is the people responsible for instability in the Middle East has always been the Zionist regime that is currently slaughtering Palestinians on a daily basis, killing people in Syria, killing people in Yemen, killing people in Lebanon, and then saying, well, wait, we're the victims. And of course, this country that is Israel's main source of support, it is only now that we have some senators willing to push back, questioning the fact not only that we're giving them the means and the funding to kill innocent people, also the fact that they want to combine the Israeli military with the U.S. military. How do we propose doing that? Who are American soldiers, Marines, airmen, Coast Guard going to take orders from? Are they going to take orders from Israeli officers? Are Israeli officers going to take orders from American officers? And what is the purpose of this combining of forces? What for?
Those are good points. Those are good, valid points and concerns. And I know that with the immigration, I think the policy by Steve Miller and this administration, it's all race-based. I think 2% was criminal activity. It is a race-based policy, period. Persons of color, persons of other ethnicities. That's how it could be interpreted and implied based on the actions made by these untrained or unprepared immigration officers. Now, granted, there are some who are definitely experienced and seasoned, but they're not the ones out there in the streets. They're the ones that are the ones in the streets are poorly trained as well. That's been documented by the U.S. Congress oversight. The fact that the weeks of training that they've had is very short, and the qualifications basically, as long as you have a pulse, you're hired. Basically, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I tell
someone
you,
else said,
there is something that we could do. I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to
Mhm.
say that there is something that we can do. We do have this little march that will be going on, and drop that up there for you.
Thank you.
Just so people would know, it's the 62nd anniversary, and it's a march. And I really would suggest that anybody who wants to go should come on and get on the bus. Okay, because
Yeah,
there seems to be not a lot of things that we can do. So those are one of the things that we can do.
yeah. And for those who are interested, email mcdblack1619 at gmail.com. Again, that's mcdblack1619 at gmail.com. Get on the list that will come to the Monroe County Democratic Black Caucus, and we'll make sure you get on the list and get on
You
the
know,
bus.
I
I got
was
to.
at my daughter went and got her driver's license today, and I'm sitting in PennDOT, which is pretty much like sitting in waiting room to get into hell. And people were coming in to get real ID. Real ID has to be very specific. So while I was in there, I kind of Googled what is considered real ID.
Mm.
I have global entry,
Mm-hmm.
which you have to be investigated
Mm-hmm.
by Homeland Security in order to obtain a global entry card. That's not real ID. I have a veteran's card, having been a member of the armed forces, issued by the United States government. That also is not real ID. They want you to have a specific item on your license that says real ID. And of course, yes, you have to pay an additional fee to get that. But why?
Yeah.
For all these years, we've used our driver's license, which is state issued ID, and it's been accepted. But even before we had this issue with passports, if you had a birth certificate and a driver's license, you pretty much traveled around the world. Then they said, okay, we'll go with passports. But now they want to tell you you have to have a real ID. So what happens now come November and you want to vote and you have your passport? Will they accept that?
So, and that's
Mm.
the issue. It's not standardized. It's debatable. Each state runs it. And here's a note. Remember, I said about the Save Act. Yeah, I have no issue if you want everyone to show an ID. Here's the issue: is like the government rolls out its programs and policy. It takes time. The real ID concept came right after 9/11. That was from the 9/11 Commission, and it implemented that we should have a real ID. How long has that been? That's what I'm saying. You can't just push something through because any government and policy, anything you want to issue out takes time, so much time. So 9/11, 2001, that's when the commission said we need to have real ID. And that only rolled out, what year is this, 2026? That only rolled out, what, 2025? Come
Mhm.
on now. I gotta go, gentlemen. This was an engaging
Yeah.
conversation.
Thanks for
Um,
coming on,
Yeah.
Brother Michael.
Thanks for coming
definitely
on,
love
brother
to.
Mike. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, I
So
love
let
to.
me ask, right on. Let me ask you a question, Ron. So, what are
Yeah.
the requirements that you need in order to get this real ID, or even with the Save Act, the type of ID that they want you to get to vote? What are the requirements that you need in order to obtain one of these?
So you have to go to PennDOT, fill out a form. You have to have an original birth certificate or certificate of citizenship, like a passport. And if you can present those to the examiner, they will issue you a real ID. I guess it's just a symbol on your license where it would be now considered real ID. But what is the point? I mean, it's the same license, just good. It'll just say real ID, right? Or something similar. But it's the same driver, like the same information. Why does the government need all this information? Now, here's the thing. The Republican Party has always said they're the party of small government. the party that is into less governmental intrusion into the lives of the American people. The party of small government. Ronald Reagan said one of the most frightening words is, we're from the government, we're here to help. So the idea was small government, less intrusive. Now we have both sides of the aisle demanding more from the American people. You want to get on the plane, if you want to go through the express aisle, you now have to have clear, or you have to have global entry, or you have to have TSA pre-check. And they have to investigate you to get on a plane. Why? A background check to fly. And that's even on domestic flights. What's that about? You know, a few months back, the government of Israel was requesting medical records from the citizens of countries in Africa. And of course, the United States was trying to help them to obtain those records. What do you need the records of citizens, health records for people in Africa for? What is that about? Why does Israel need that? Why is it that in this country, where we talk so much about freedom, about justice, why is it we're constantly surveilled? Street cameras, video cameras, everywhere. Drones checking your houses, it's constant surveillance. Big brother's constantly watching, yet they tell us we're free. Free to do what? Free to go where? We have no sense of freedom anymore. Most people born after 9/11 don't know what it's like not to have to strip naked to get on a plane, not to take off your shoes, your belt, open your pocketbook, empty your pockets. Most people born after 9/11 have no idea what it was like to just go through a scanner, a simple scanning device, and walk onto a plane.
But you know what we did? We traded our freedom for security, pretty much.
And what security do we have? What are we secure from? You know, for years we fought a war on terror. Terror is a state of mind, it's not physical. So how do you defeat a state of mind? And we've killed countless people in order to feel safe. But are we? Have our crime statistics gone down in this country appreciably?
No.
Do we not murder people in America at a scale unprecedented in other countries? So
we
what?
imprison
How
people the
safe are
same.
we?
We imprison more people than anyone else in the world.
More than 2 million people are imprisoned in this country. So if we're safe, why do we keep building prisons? Why are we building detention centers? Why are we giving ICE billions and billions of dollars if we're safe? Why do we have so much in terms of, I mean, it's a police state. And if you look at the police nowadays, the way they outfitted, police departments are small armies. They show up at your house. They have some of the same equipment that you and I saw when we were in infantry units. But we're supposed to be safe. So why do we need all this hardware in a safe country?
Well, they're worried about the cartel coming in. All these worries that they have. So even the gangs here, they feel that the gangs have armed themselves with these same type of military weapons. So they have to come in equivalent to what they have in order to fight the battles out there. You know.
Well, here's the thing.
But,
how do these gangs get these military grade weapons? You know, when you talk about the gangs, in Africa, you have the Hutus and the Tutsis that killed one another. People that lived next to each other for years, all of a sudden, ethnic tensions build up. And we had the Hutu massacre in, what was it, 1995 or so? Well, in this country, you have Bloods and Crips. live right next door to one another, go to the same schools, played in the same parks. But now I got a red handkerchief, you got a blue one. So now we got to kill each other over drugs that we don't produce in this country. How do drugs get into South Central Los Angeles or into Harlem? We're not producing it. So how do we get it in the South Bronx? How do we get it here in the Poconos? No drug factories here. We don't grow these crops in this country for the most part. We don't produce heroin here, but we had a heroin epidemic that they call the health crisis now in the 70s, when it was predominantly, or it appeared that it was predominantly Black and brown people dying. What the government did then, mass incarceration. When it happened again 15 years or so ago, it became a healthcare crisis, where they said, if we find somebody overdosed, instead of taking them to jail, we'll put them in drug court. We'll get them rehabilitation.
You know why that happened? Because originally they, as far as the public or society had it, only Black people were the ones out there getting high like that. And what do they call them? Junkies. That's what they call them. And then when they find that more of the other people got involved with it, now all of a sudden it became a disease and you had to treat it.
Right.
Okay. So that's how that came about.
And now in hindsight, years later, we know that information has been leaked from the Nixon administration, where he said that the war on drugs was basically a war on Black people and leftists. And here we are, 40 some years later, post Nixon, and what do we have? A war on Black people and a war on leftists. So, we've just circled back to the same sort of mentality that existed in the Nixon White House now exists in the Trump White House. And, you mentioned this march. In 1963, the original March on Washington, Martin Luther King Jr., when he made his historic speech, he talked about the march was for jobs. It was for opportunity. It was for justice. It was for equality. 63 years later, we're going to be down in Washington marching for the same exact causes that Dr. King marched for 63 years ago. And I think, and this is my own opinion, I think if we continue to march, I think 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we'll still be marching, asking for the same things we asked for 63 years ago.
100 years ago.
Right. So we got to find another means. Now,
I'm gonna tell you. You know what I found really curious. So they looked for all this money, and people actually agreed upon giving this slush fund money to the people from January 6th, the Sixers they call them, right? Those people were criminals straight up and down. What they did was against the law. You can't go and start a coup. But the president and other people, they're so adamant about giving them some sort of restitution. But us, as much as been done to us throughout history, and when we say reparations, people look at us like we're crazy. But they want to give these other people some money because they felt that there was some sort of injustice done to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that.
Even with the injustice, right? Well, let's think for a second. About 1989 or so, when Trump was portraying himself as the biggest developer in New York City, there was the horrendous attack in Central Park. Well, as we know, 5 young men, teenagers at the time, were arrested and charged. Donald Trump took out an ad in every major New York periodical. And in his article, he called for the death of those boys. Well, what you're essentially doing is you're tainting the jury pool, because now here you are, influential individual, talking about these boys' guilt before trial had even begun. Donald Trump is not including them in the people who were harmed by the criminal justice system. Weren't they harmed? And wasn't he part of that harm?
Mm-hmm.
There's a man who was just, the charges were just dropped by Janine Pirro. And Trump said, I'm not very happy with her, simply because she realized this man didn't take no damn little box cutter or knife, right? And cut up the flooring of the reflecting pool. It was shoddy work. Algae just grew and it was shoddy work. And she dropped the charges. He wouldn't be included in that either. But the people who went down to Washington that violated state, national, federal law, they're the ones in line. Now, if you think about it, this is nothing new, because the Civil War was between the North and the South. The South wanted the right to maintain the right to own our ancestors. Well, the South lost. But weren't all the bases in the South named after Confederate generals?
That's what I
Weren't there
wanted to say. Did
statues
they
all
really
over the
lose?
country of Confederates?
Did they
Didn't
really
the Ku
lose?
Klux Klan rise after the Civil War and terrorize Black and brown communities? And who said anything about that? So this is nothing new, rewarding those who are considered patriots. If you stand up to the government, if you speak out, if you're Alex Preddy, you're a terrorist. Now, the Constitution says you have the right to change the government if the government no longer serves the will and the need of the people. Alex Preddy stood up, shot and killed. Renee Good stood up for the ideals outlined in the Constitution, stood up for those ideals and was murdered. So many other people standing up for the ideals that are enumerated in the Constitution: freedom, justice. Stand up, you're a terrorist and you're worthy of death. But if you break into a building, if you commit horrible acts in those buildings, if you threaten to kill the vice president, if you threaten to kill the Speaker of the House and other members of Congress, well, you're a patriot. The woman who tried to climb through the window to get into the actual Capitol area where the senators were and was shot and killed, she is a patriot. She's a hero. Renee Good and all these others, no, they got what they deserved. This is how sick we've become in this country. A country that, is supposed to be built on the concept of freedom.
This is what I got to say about that, man, is that anytime we decide to do things like, I don't know, abide by our constitutional rights or actually try to put them into play, like the Black Panthers when they walk down the street with the rifles, or any of our other people that look like us that have tried to abide by the Constitution and utilize the Constitution, we would call terrorists, not patriots.
Right. And,
that Constitution to me is for a particular group of people. And I know they say it's for all the people, we the people, I got you. But we the people were not all included when this was written. This was
let's
written
be
for a
realistic.
particular group of people, and they didn't look like us.
When this document was written, the only people that are allowed to vote were rich white landowners, male landowners. Poor white men were not figured into this equation. And white women in this country wouldn't get the right to vote to 2 centuries later, not till 1920. So this was to consolidate power amongst the elite. The same thing that is happening right now today.
History repeats itself.
And you know what? We have to realize, right, that the game hasn't changed because it's still effective. And you have so many people right now that will defend the actions of the president. Now, what I wanted to say to Mike is that right now, President Trump, and I use that term loosely, he has created for himself enormous powers, power that are clearly not supposed to be wielded by him under the Constitution. Well, of course, the Democratic Party wants to check those powers. They're hoping that come November, that it'll be a blue wave and they will check the powers of the presidency. But what happens if a Democrat wins? Are they willing to give up those powers then? Are they willing to go back to the old rules of justice? Are they willing to go back to the old constitutional rules that were in place? Or are they going to enjoy the power that Trump had, where they can purge people that they don't like, purge voter rolls, send people to foreign countries? And this isn't new. Extraordinary rendition isn't new. This started when we had the so-called war on terror. We would send people out of this country, the country that they'd never been to in their lives before. Black sites, we called them. So one day you're in Manhattan, the next day you're in Mogadishu. So this is not new. And this is something that both sides of the aisle did.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if a Democrat wins, say in 2028? Are they going to give back those powers? Since when has the government given back anything that is taken? They told us after 9/11, we had to give up some of our rights temporarily to fight the war on terror. Did we get them back after the war ended? Are we still stripping naked to go through airports?
Mm-hmm.
So are the Democrats going to relinquish some of that power? Or are they going to take vengeance the way Trump took vengeance?
Well, absolute power does what? Corrupt absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's what
And
we're
for
dealing with.
people, especially for people who say that they want to have smaller government, it's a ruse, because government seems to be controlling everything, every aspect of our lives, our medical, our education, our social. They have control over everything.
Mhm. And that's the problem, right? The idea was we talk about freedom, but it's simply an illusion of freedom. There is no real freedom. Everything that all of the institutions in this country are controlled by either government or corporations, even down to your religion. Think about it. In order to climb up in the pulpit, you have to go to an approved school. Then you have to be issued a license. A license to preach? Since when does God require you to have a piece of paper or a certificate on your wall or diploma to preach God's word? So everything is controlled. There is no freedom. It's an illusion. And this illusion, the bubble's going to burst because, one of the things that the Republican Party, one of the main tenets or blocks of their platform is the sanctity of the Second Amendment. Well, as Trump's numbers continue to nosedive, as more people begin to wake up and smell the political coffee and are like, wait a minute, all of the things this man promised, he's not delivering on any of them. In fact, things he told us that were stupid, that were costly, wasteful, like foreign wars, well, he's got to send one. And we're not winning that war. And for me, or people in this country who are poor, who are unemployed or underemployed, who've lost their health care, they're losing faith in Trump. Eventually, those people who were Trump supporters and now Trump detractors, are they going to be allowed to hold on to their weapons? See, they're not willing to go run up into the Capitol anymore in defense of Trump. What happens now if those same people become angry enough, like they did on January 6th, to turn on him and his family and those other people in Washington that support him? They're armed to the teeth. Can you allow them to have those weapons? And I'm not talking about the Democrats being responsible for taking those guns. I'm talking about Republicans.
And that's not going to happen. You know that. But you know what I would like to say, bro, is we here in Monroe County, and we got some elections coming up. We got some people that running for Senate. It would be Brian Wrightson. He's running for Senate, and I guess I could say I support him. You also have he's running in our district in the 176, Tom Koser, and he's running against Jack Rader.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, and the senator that's running, the one that's running against the Rosemary Brown, that was the Brian Wrightson. So just in our area, I would encourage people to get out and vote. That's all. You want to make changes. I know people got this thing about not voting or don't vote, but you don't vote, you see what happens. Then
but the reality is you do vote and nothing changes. The same people get elected. Before Mitch McConnell, let's be realistic, Mitch McConnell's dead. Before Mitch McConnell died, how many times was he elected and reelected? You have people literally dying in office, people in their 90s that have been in Washington since the 70s, still there. Some of these people are some of the richest people in this country. They go to Washington with the clothes on their back and they leave, with the golden parachute. So when we vote, what are we really changing? Are we changing the attitudes in this country?
Of course, that's not going to change. That's not going to change.
We're not. All we're changing is the name on the door. That's all we're changing.
I truly believe that local government, that's where our power comes from. That's going to make the difference on how we live our life here in Monroe County. So I would encourage people to get out and vote. I know people like Tara Probst, and she's for real about what she does. She's been out there fighting for us for a long time.
I've been in Monroe County now for over 30 years.
Right.
In the 30 years I've been here, well, we have gone from probably the latter half of the 19th century, probably into the middle of the 20th century. We're still about a century behind. Where are the jobs in this community? Other than Walmart Distribution Center and a few other places like the hospitals that have opened up, where's the industry? Where is the train that they promised us more than 30 years ago that will make an easy commute into New York? Where's that?
That was just something to get the people here. We know that, man.
Right, right. But where are all the promises?
A lot of politics with that, even with the train. Because from my understanding, the people that own it are the same people that own the bus company. So what, are they going to compete against themselves? I don't think that's going to happen.
So here's the situation, right? All these promises that have been made, how many are being kept?
Well, I'm talking about for the young people. I don't know.
For the young people that are graduating from colleges and universities, we have one right here, East Stroudsburg University. For those that want to stay in this area, where are they going to work? You graduate from ESU, you've had 6 figures of debt that you're carrying. You want a job around here? Where are you going to work? Sanofi, one of the hospitals, or Walmart Distribution Center. You have to leave this area. The tax base is suffering. We have people living longer who can't afford to pay the rising taxes. We just got a 30% increase in our property taxes last year and was slated for another one next year. So these older people on a fixed income who vote, is their votes going to change the fact that their property taxes went up 30%? And may go.
But then we did get a rebate as well. We got a rebate on our property taxes as well.
I didn't.
Well, I did. So yeah.
But not everybody qualifies for that rebate. But the fact of the matter is, we're voting. We vote every 2 years. We vote every 4 years. Gas
Right.
prices still out of control. People don't have health care in this country. Women don't have health care in this country. Women's health care, right? Abortion, gone. So for a woman, if she needs help with her pregnancy, there are some doctors who say there was nothing I can do. The law is unclear. Turn these women away. How many women have died? And this is in America. We
Well,
talk
it's a
about
good
this
thing we
happening
don't
in
have
third
that
world
here.
countries. It's happening right here.
Well, not in
And
PA,
what are we doing
because
about it?
that law is different in PA. You know that that didn't extend to PA as far as the birth rights and all of that. So
And
that
people from and women from
politicians
other
fought against that.
states
They didn't do that.
and women from other states who come into Pennsylvania to seek health care, once they go back to there, they can be prosecuted. And
This
that's
is
in
true.
America.
And
And
they
we're
also
voting.
doing away
And we're
with. They want
voting
to
for
do away
this.
with midwives. Why do they want to do away with midwives? I don't understand that. I
Because
mean, if you
you
want people to have the babies, the midwife, would help you along with that to have a nice, healthy baby.
do you know that in some states the government is monitoring women's cycles? Because they want to know if you're pregnant or not. Because if you leave the state because you have an unwanted pregnancy or a pregnancy that put the mother's life in jeopardy, and you go to another state to seek a termination of your pregnancy, when you come back to your home state, they will prosecute you. And they will prosecute doctors in state that will provide life-saving treatment to some of these women. And this is in America. This is the land of freedom, the home of the brave, we say.
So
And this is what we're voting for.
pro-choice at work, right? This is pro-life, right? The pro-life, right?
You know what?
Please.
We talk about that, right? We say we're pro-life, but then we cut off food assistance to starving children.
How about that?
We cut off U.S. aid to other countries and allow children to die, pregnant women to be malnourished so that they will die and their babies will die too. This is what we call pro-life in this country.
Hmm.
It's all a lie. But because people fall for it every time, because we'll get up there and go to these rallies and go to these nominating events, these caucuses and these conferences, and we'll go up there and show all this enthusiasm to people we don't even know. And we want to see them elected because they are the party that I believe in, that I represent. So we'll vote for people that we don't know, we know nothing about. And then when things get bad, then we say, well, we're going to vote somebody else in. You're voting in the same idea. You're voting in the same people that are going to take money from AIPAC. You're voting in the same people that are going to say, give us money to kill the Palestinians. Give us money to fight these preemptive wars. What are we changing? How many military engagements have this country been in since its founding? I've counted over 200 military engagements. We fought 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, and here we are fighting now in Iran. And what did we accomplish in Iraq and Afghanistan?
The same thing
And
we're
what
going
are
to
we
accomplish here in
accomplishing right
Iran. Not a
now?
damn thing.
And we're not
But
accomplishing anything now.
that's absolutely right. We're going to pick this back up next week because this show was good. I missed you last week, brother. I tell you, man.
Yeah,
Because of the
I
incident,
mean,
I really wanted to get into it with you last week, but shit
but then
happens,
you
man.
had the emergency, so family
Life
got to
keeps
come
life.
first, brother.
Yeah, life keeps life, and so.
Yep.
But yeah, it's glad to have you back here today. I think this is a pretty good show. I'm glad that Michael came on. I'd like to thank all the people that tuned in. The people that did text me and said hello. You guys can always comment, or you can just pick up the phone and give us a call. We're always available for you. So my name is Kendall Stevenson, and I always say Ashe. This is my brother Ronald Yates, and he always
Okay.
says, so we're going to be out. All right?
And we'll
Peace.
see you next Tuesday.